2001, and Betty Bickle and Muriel, me, decided that we wanted to do something in memory of and a tribute to our mother, Marion French. Here on the screen we have some information about our mom. Our mom, Marion Nellie French, was born Marion Scott. She was born July the 3rd, 1906, and she died March, actually the 1st, that is, third is incorrect, 1953. She was the third child of Fred Arthur Scott, who was born April the 6th, 1887, and he died September the 5th, 1952, and Nellie Waller, his mother. This is a family picture of, this is the birth family of my mother. On the left-hand side is my grandfather, Fred Scott, and behind him, directly behind him, is Marion, my mother. And beside her is her sister Gladys, who is older. And beside Gladys is Charlie, who is the oldest in the family. The two boys in the front, the one closest to my mother is Frank, who is the youngest, and Arthur is in front of Frank, and Grandma Scott, Nellie. They lived in, Mom was actually born in Tillsonburg, and she lived in the farm that Nellie and Fred owned and worked for many, many years. This picture, as you'll see this picture again, but this is a picture of our mom as Betty and I remember her. She was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful lady. She's here with Dad in this picture. And this picture was part of a family picture, but the reason we like it, I believe, is because she looks healthy, and she looks like the person that Betty remembers. I don't remember this much, but Betty remembers our mother to be spunky and strong and full of fun and loving a good time. This is the only baby picture we have of our mother. Our mother is the little one in the chair, and this is Gladys beside her. Picture taken very typically of pictures taken in those days, where they posed the children. And Mom has this pensive pose on her. Look at the little boots that Gladys has on. Those were the kinds you did up with a boot hook. So my mother was born in 1906. She's probably 3 or 4 years old here. This is a very lovely picture of my mom. We take note of the diamond ring on her finger. She's engaged. And quite often pictures in those days were taken with a picture in the person's hand. It was kind of the style, the thing to do. Mom, we believe here, is probably about 21 or 22 years old. This was a portrait that was taken. As you can see, she quite liked beautiful clothes, and this is in the flapper era, so she has a flapper dress, a beautiful, beautiful flapper dress, and marcelled hair. This is Mom's first school. Now, Mom taught at Eden, and she taught at Miller's Corners, Ontario. Both places are close to Tillsonburg, not too far from Tillsonburg. This is neither one of those. This was her first school, and neither Betty or I know the name of it. But here she is with her about 22 or 23 students, and she was, in those days, for a woman to have her profession was quite unusual. So she was a spunky lady, and she did what she wanted to do. We do believe that she was held down quite a bit by her family, so she never missed an opportunity to kick up the traces and have a good time and do what she wanted, and she loved to teach school. This is a picture of Mom. This would be after she was teaching. Mom is with a friend of hers, and we don't know who the friend is. We believe that they're in Niagara Falls on a visit. But one of the things that Mom did after she started teaching, and she had her own money and felt like she had the right to do what she wanted, she cut her hair, which really upset her mother. Her mother did not want her to cut her hair, but Mom cut her hair. And both of these ladies have on quite lovely flapper, drop waist types of dresses. Mom loved clothes. she always loved clothes. So now I can excuse my behavior because I inherited it. This is same day, and she's standing here by the river. White stockings, of course, and it went with these types of dresses. She looks like she's really very happy. I don't know whether Dad was in her life yet. I don't know. She definitely was there a day away with her girlfriends. Here we are, same girlfriend, but we have Mom on one end and Aunt Gladys on the other. Some girls doing something on a Sunday afternoon, I suppose. One of the things that was stylish in the 20s was wearing hairnets. Sometimes they were all glittery or fancy or whatever, and Mom has one on. Wouldn't be something I would choose, but it was the style in those days, and here we are, all dressed in our flapper-type dresses, with smiles and having a good time. And Aunt Gladys in her big hat. This is a church in Eden, and obviously they're having some sort of a church tea outside. Mom is having tea with a friend of hers whose name was... I knew the name. Ollie Stoll. That was her name. This was a friend of Mom's. Mom looks like somebody's told her a joke. What a beautiful, beautiful skirt she has on. Mom and Dad met at Young People's through the church. And we think that this is a Young People's group meeting. Mom is the lady on the left at the bottom with the band around her head. That's part of the flapper look. And Dad is the very handsome looking young man right behind her. And doesn't he look like Pat's son Leland and my son David? We look at them and think they really do. But that's where they met, and that's where they fell in love. Here's Dad and Mom dating. The dress doesn't do anything for her, but it was the style, I guess. And she worked a long time to get her hair in those little waves, because I know her hair was as straight as mine. But here they are, dating, and Dad looks very dapper, doesn't he? Looks pretty sharp. This is Dad's Roadster. We think it's a Ford. Dad, right from the very beginning, as soon as he was able, he was always been a lover of cars, and this little Ford Roadster was just the thing. I don't know who the friends that they have with them are. Mom has this coat, and I remember this coat. It was a gray, beautiful gray coat with beautiful fox, and Dad, what a dapper guy with his bowler hat. Now here we have a beauty. An absolute beautiful, beautiful lady. Here she is in her eyelet dress and her little cloche hat, which was all very stylish, and pearls. I don't know where they are that day, but she's dressed up for something. She looks absolutely lovely. This was a family do. One of the things that happened when Mom and Dad got married was, and Dad is in this picture, but actually Dad didn't spend much time with the Scott family. We have in this picture, on the far left, Lois, and right behind her is her father, which was Lloyd Johnson, which is Aunt Gladys's husband and daughter. Beside Lois is my father, my grandmother, and Aunt Evelyn and my grandfather. And down below my grandpa immediately would be Keith Johnson, which is a son of Aunt Gladys, whose lap he's sitting on, and Uncle Charlie, and just a little bit of Aunt Grace in the corner, which was Uncle Frank's wife. I suspect that Mom took the picture, so she's not in it. This would be Christmas or some special occasion. Here is the Betty's first picture we have of Betty, actually. Betty was born in London Hospital, And we didn't even talk about Mom and Dad getting married, but Mom and Dad got married in Windsor in a very small ceremony, and their first child was Betty, and here's the picture of them, proud parents. Dad's trying to look kind of, I don't know, official, I guess, and Mom's looking like a proud mom. They lived in Miller's Corners, and they rented a house there from a man called Ernie Turner. And here's Mom out the back pumping some water, and Betty would be maybe a year old, maybe a little older than that. It's amazing what motherhood does to you. Now all of a sudden she's in work clothes. This is the same day. Just another picture. Mommy outside with her daughter. Mom was still teaching then, so she would have been teaching in Miller's Corners. And actually, for a while, Dad didn't have a job. He used to work by the day as a kind of a handyman, 25 cents a day in his lunch. And Mom was teaching school, which, by the way, I found a contract that she had signed to teach at Miller's Corners, and she was paid $375 a year. She actually taught until 1935, I think. Yes, 1935. Oh, isn't she sweet? This is after the family moved to Burgessville. Dad actually bought the place in Burgessville because it had a garage behind it, and his business was carried on out of his garage, which was behind the house in Burgessville, which many of us know about. And this is Betty with her doll buggy and her doll, and this picture was taken at Wills's, the next door. It made it very awkward when they lived in Burgessville for Mom to get to work, because it wasn't quite as easy as it is today. It's probably 12 to 15 miles to the school she taught at. So Mom, they tried to go with a cutter, and the horse got buried in the snow and couldn't get her there. So Dad took the air out of the tires of his car and drove it down the railway. Imagine that. One wouldn't want to be doing that today, but pretty inventive. Not very much missed our father. Here's Dad with one of his many cars that he had in his life. Look at those white walls. Just practically glare your eyes. And Betty looks like she's probably 6 or 7 years old, maybe a little older than that. We tried to figure out what kind of car this is, and we don't really know. But we just know he looks like he's pretty proud of it in his nice white shoes. This is Mom and Betty standing out in the backyard of our house in Burgessville. The house, as you can see, is a stucco house. The stucco was the kind of stucco that is really cement, and then somebody stands back and throws little shiny stones into it, which gives little children like myself something to do through their whole childhood, is pick out the stones. It wasn't a particularly pretty house, but we lived there and loved it because we had such a wonderful mom. She was a wonderful cook. This is our mom, and this is in our house in Burgessville. I remember this dress that she has on. This dress was a very soft, dusty rose pink, and I believe that what you see around her neck was a necklace that she had that she wore with it, and a lovely hat, off-the-face hat, as she would call it, with a very soft, fluffy feather. She did so like clothes. This picture doesn't have her mom in it, but we thought it was significant because it shows the 4 generations. This is Aunt Gladys and her father. So there's Grandpa Scott, his daughter, Aunt Gladys, who is Gladys Johnson, her son, which is Laverne Johnson, her oldest son, and Laverne's first child, which is Clifford Johnson. Aunt Gladys was probably Mom's very, very best friend in the whole world. They were very, very close, and Aunt Gladys was a wonderful lady. And actually, when our mom passed away, she took awful good care of Pat in particular. She was always there for her. This is at the farm in Tillsonburg. This is Grandpa Scott's farm. And here we see a family, two moms, my mom and Aunt Gladys and their kids. So if we take a look at Aunt Gladys, let's do the front row first. The front row, we have the little cutest one of all is me, and the one beside me is Betty. And the one beside Betty is Isabel Johnson, which is Gladys's daughter. And behind Isabel is Lois, her sister. And then Aunt Gladys, and she has in her arms Glenn, her son. Beside her was her mother. In front of Grandma Scott, the little boy beside me, is Keith, which is Aunt Gladys's other son. And then there's Mom, and Mom has her hand on Laverne's shoulder. Mom and Laverne had a wonderful relationship. He went to her school when she taught school. He was very, very bright, and she enjoyed him a lot. This is a picture over at Aunt Gladys's. This is the family. On the left is Mom, and beside her is Uncle Frank, her youngest brother, and then Grandpa Scott. Behind Grandpa is Uncle Arthur, and then in front of Uncle Arthur is Grandma Scott and Aunt Gladys and Uncle Charlie. So that's the family. That's the first picture we saw was when they were younger, and here they are all grown up. The dress that my mom had on was one of her favorites. It was pale mauve with the whole bodice of it was lace. She liked it very much. When I was a little girl, we spent a lot of time at Aunt Gladys's. Mom and Dad didn't travel together a lot. Dad went his way, and Mom used to spend a lot of time with her family. And we either on Saturdays went to visit Aunt Gladys and stayed there, or we went down to Grandma and Grandpa's. There was a bad feeling between the Scott family and my father for a lot of reasons that don't make much sense to me, but anyway, that's the way it was. And so my mother made her life with her family. Here, this is Mom's oldest brother, Uncle Charlie, and this is his family. So there's Uncle Charlie and Aunt Evelyn, and Aunt Evelyn was a friend of my mom's as well as her sister-in-law. Beside her was Max Scott, and the other side of Uncle Charlie were his two daughters, Helen beside him and Marjorie. And in front of them, the two little children belonged to, I believe, Helen. Max has had his pants hung up nice and neat, hasn't he? Got a crease right across the knee. Here we have Betty and I going to school. I'm 6 years old. Betty's about 11. It looks like it's kind of almost ready to start school. In the garage, you see a car, and this car was the neatest car. It's too bad we didn't get a better picture, but let me tell you, this was a great car. It was a little roadster with a rumble seat. It had two seats in the front and a rumble seat in the back. And Mom used to drive that car. It was a rag top too. She used to drive that car, and us kids would sit in the back rumble seat. Now here we have two beautiful ladies, don't we? Probably thinking of having tea, which we did quite often out on the front. The grass needs to be cut by the look of it. Those chairs came down off of the veranda because we kept them up there. Looks like Betty's taking care of her little sister. I'm probably about 4 years old, so she'd be about 9. Pat was born. Pat was born on April the 3rd, 1943. And there is Mom holding her brand new baby in her arms. Pat was born in Tillsonburg Hospital. When Pat was born, of course, Mom went to the hospital, and I was in school because I was 6 years old. And I came home from school into the house, and the house was cold, and we heated our house with coal and wood. And being 6 years old and being Muriel, I decided that I would go downstairs and light the furnace. And I went down the stairs and put big rubber boots on, which belonged to my father, slopped through the 1.5 foot of water that was in the basement, threw in the coal, threw in the wood, and then threw in the half a pail of gasoline like I saw my dad do, and then threw in a match. Just to continue the story, I didn't get to see my sister until they brought her home from the hospital because it burned all my hair off and my eyebrows. So here we are. You can easily see Dad now must be working. He actually did work in his garage behind the house in Burgessville for a number of years, and then he had an opportunity to buy the house from the garage from Bill Losey, which is down at the corner, which he ended up working at for the major part of his life. And he did well there because he got the dealership for International Harvester. But here we are now. We're gone from being the all dressed up people that we saw in a few clips ago to people who work for a living. And there's little Pat sitting in her high chair. Dad also had the dealership for Chevrolet and Hudson cars, and this was during the war, we have to remember, so cars were hard to get. Well, it looks like Mom had the rags out because here's my hair all curled up. Whenever I needed curls in my hair, Mom would do them up in rags, which you never knew what you were going to get, but sometimes it turned out not too bad, and if it was really bad, you put a hat on it. But here I am with my baby sister, who I just adored. I thought she was the cutest thing in the whole world and wanted to carry her around all over the place. And outside our house in Burgessville. Pat doesn't like the sun. She never liked the sun. She closed her eyes in the sunshine. You will see this coat again. Remember this coat that I have on, because you will see it again and it won't look nearly so good. For many years in the summer, every summer, we would take a couple of weeks and go down and rent a cottage in Port Dover. My dad had a great love of the water and boats, as we all know, and we would rent a cottage at the Arbor Cottages. People know Port Dover. They know where, this isn't there anymore, but the Arbor is certainly there. And my dad's sitting there in his bare feet. We're having a wonderful time. Oh boy, here we go. Aunt Gladys, Aunt Evelyn, who is Charlie's wife, and my mother, with the shorts on. They're probably at Port Dover, staying at the cottage, I would think. Anyway, I suspect they made those shorts. I can't imagine anybody would actually buy them. There's Muriel, isn't she cute? I did love to dress up and wear high heels, and usually I had Pat in my buggy. You can't see if she's in there or not, but oh, she wouldn't be old enough. She wouldn't be born yet. I'm probably only about 5 there, but I spent most of my life in somebody else's high heels and dressed up. Here's Pat. She's sitting on the lawn over at Wills's. We never had much of a lawn. Whenever we would take pictures, we were either at Wills's or over on Pearson's, which was the other side next door. And isn't she the cutest thing? And when you know Pat, you take that look at her, and that's the way she looked. She always squinted in the sun, and she looks like Joey. Oh, the new bike. She did so love her new bike. And doesn't she look lovely? This is in the backyard at Burgessville. And right behind her and to the right was our sandbox. And we spent hours and hours in our sandbox. There's little Patty in school. Just her little student in school. This is the Burgessville school here. She looks like she's in about grade 2 or 3. And here's Muriel. And she's in school, probably about grade 6 or 7. We love school, and notice we had twin dresses. Well, a little bit of lazing in the sun never hurt anybody, so Pat decided to go for a little rock here in her new little rocking chair. It looks like Dad's been working on the garage trying to fix it up a little bit. Here's little Patty. Now, they did something to this picture that they used to do in those days, and that was, if you had a picture you particularly liked, you could take it into a photographer's, and they would actually paint in the color that you tell them. So here we have little Patty and her mom standing over on probably Pearson's lawn. Mom used to wear her hair in an upsweep a lot, and it really did look nice on her. She's certainly proud of her little girl. Nice picture, really nice picture. This is Mother's Day 1947. And remember the coat I said you need to take note of? Now poor little Pat has the coat on and it doesn't fit her. It looks like we turned the hem up with a masking tape or a stapler. But anyway, she's not real happy about it. But we're all ready for Mother's Day. And there's Betty and Mom and I who were on our way to church. Dad did not go to church with us. We were the church folk. I thought my coat was just beautiful. It was new because I gave my old one to Pat, as you see. I'm not sure she's really happy about having it, but anyway, there we go. You'll see the coat again. So here we go. We didn't do a good job in the hem, but we both seem happier about it all now. My coat was red, and I had a green velvet purse, which I remember very well. And we're on our way to church. The hat looks like it's gone through a few launders or something. It isn't quite as perky as it used to be. We got our flowers on, all ready to go to church. The sleeves should have been short, and we should have used a stapler on them for Pat's coat too. Here we are again. This picture isn't all that great in terms of with Betty, but Pat's getting a little annoyed about having her picture taken, and I'm sure she's not too happy with the picky of the staples in her coat either. And we likely should get on our way to church. You see probably one of Dad's many beautiful cars. We had many beautiful cars. He had lots of cute Hudsons too. This is our house. That's the north room window up above, and our beautiful veranda that used to be on there. We spent many hours in that veranda and loved the veranda. We had a swing on it and chairs and tables to have tea parties. It was a beautiful, beautiful veranda. And there's Betty. She's probably about 11, maybe 12 years old. It must be spring because Mom always had beautiful flowers growing in the window boxes and having hanging plants in the hanging on the hooks up above. We had a swing out to the right. I don't see it, but it was there. Mom and Betty. It looks like it could be Easter or something like that. And we couldn't decide why Betty was so tall. She's almost tall as her mother, but the platform-soled shoes had come into fashion, and Betty had herself a pair, and they were nice. She looked really nice. I remember that coat was a soft pale blue, and Betty's hat was pink. She looks like something that the Queen would wear. And Mom liked her hat very much. She called it an off-the-face black hat. I actually preferred the previous hat to this hat, but anyway, here we are again. And this must be a Mother's Day again because Mom has a flower pinned on. And in the background, we see one of Dad's cars too. I think what we see in the background is the old Packard car. We had an old Packard car that Mom used to drive actually for a school bus, and it had 3 rows of seats. It was very hard to drive. Here's Patty outside playing in the snow in the wintertime, looking as happy as she can be. in her little green plaid coat and her snow pants, getting her picture taken. Mom is as pleased as she can be. This is her new car. She got herself a Hillman Minx. And this would be probably in about 1950-ish that she got the car. It was a green car, Hillman Minx, I don't know, made by Austin, I think. And she was so proud of her car. She loved it. In Dad's boat, this would be the Cherie boat that he had. I'm driving. I would be probably about 12 or 13 years old, and that's Mom behind me. The last two pictures, I think you can see that Mother is not well. She is very thin, and she just is not well. And as much as they do, they can't find out what it is. That probably same day, Mom's picture with Pat on the back of the boat. Dad loved boat. He had a boat all his life. He had a boat up until probably 4 or 5 years before he died, that he let his boat go finally, but he did so love having a boat. And Mom and me, and I would be 12, 13 years old, and we're just backing out of the boathouse to go out for the day. And Mom wasn't on the boat, nor was she in Port Dover very often. That was sort of Dad's part of his life, and she wasn't there much. She was very happy when she got her new fur coat, although it got so she couldn't wear it because it was very heavy, but she did love her new fur coat. And this is in Burgessville. And this is Muriel. Outside, I would probably be 12, maybe 13, not any more than that, because Mom was still alive when I got this skating outfit, because she made it for me. Mom used to sew a lot of her clothes. When I was a little kid, she used to make my clothes out of Dad's old shirts, but this was a brand new outfit. Green velvet skirt with plaid lining, and I had a gray cable knit sweater and a little hat to match my skirt, and didn't I think I looked swell? The Hillman Minx and Dad and Mom, she did love her car because now she could go and visit Grandma and Aunt Gladys whenever she wanted to. If you see a little bit to the right, that was Dad's first bus. The first bus he bought was a Bluebird bus, and then wintertime, this outfit that Mom has on, I remember it. It was brown, and it was like an Angora suit. It was really quite lovely. She wore hats very well too. Same hat, different dress. This dress I remember very well. Dad had a real affinity for polka dots. I remember one time going shopping with my dad, and he said, you know, I'd buy you a dress if you'd buy a polka dot dress. So Mom had a polka dot dress, and this was brown and white polka dot two-piece dress. This is another picture in Burgessville. We had a lot of beautiful trees along the roadway. I remember the skirt was gray, and I believe the blouse was pink, and she has the same hat on again. This is the family picture. You'll recognize both Mom and Dad from the first picture that was on the screen. Pat was 5. I was 10, and Betty was 15 at that time. That would be, Mom would be about 39 years old there. So Mom was 39, Dad would be 37. And that was our one and only picture, that was our family picture that was ever taken. Our dear Aunt Gladys. and we were so happy to find this picture. This is Mom's dearest beloved sister, who was a wonderful sister to Mom and a wonderful aunt to Pat and I in particular when Mom passed away. And she would take Pat in and keep her for weeks at a time. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady and lived to be 89 years old and died of a heart condition of some sort. Grandma Scott, Nellie. She was just about as happy as she looks there, too, most of the time. Bless her heart, she was small, but boy, she sure could cause quite the waves. This was in their home, their retirement home. When Grandpa Scott apparently quit farming, there was a home built for them. Here's Grandpa. This is the man that I described as this huge big man that used to carry me in his hand so that we could go milking. He would take me over to the milking. Look how big he is. He's not as tall as the car. Another picture of my mom. This is colored of her and her new Hillman minks. Notice she's lost quite a bit of weight. She's having a lot of health problems at this point. Pink straw hat she had. We were at the beach in Port Dover with Mom, and I think Aunt Gladys is there somewhere, and us kids. This day I remember a particular thing. I remember sitting by my mother as we played in the sand, ran our fingers through the sand, and looking at her hands and mine and thinking, they're just the same. They look just the same. This is at the Toronto exhibition. My mother is not very well, I can tell by looking at the way she is. She's with her two brothers, Arthur and Charles, and they're at the Toronto X. Same day, my mother, Aunt Evelyn, Uncle Charles, and Aunt Ev, who was Uncle Arthur's wife, and her son, Jackie. Must have been a family do at the X. I don't know what else. This is at Uncle Charlie's farm. And we have, probably it was a Christmas thing, so we have Uncle Charlie and Lois and Grandma and Aunt Evelyn and my mother and I think that's Grandpa, Betty, Dad, and Pat. Mom and Dad went with Jack and Emma McCready on a fishing holiday, and I remember her telling us about how much fun they had. This would be up north somewhere. They had a good time. Betty's wedding, Betty and Jim's wedding. We have the parents of the bride and parents of the groom. We have Harold and Eva Bickle, Betty and Jim, Dalton French, and Marion French. Betty and her father. And Betty and her mother. Mom's dress was so lovely, and she was so happy with her dress. It was pink, and the black butterflies in it were appliqued on black velvet butterflies, and she had a black velvet belt, and she was just beautiful. She did say she wished she'd had a hat that the sun shone through better. This is Betty, Pat, and I. I was her matron of honor, and Pat was her flower girl. And here we are at the church. Little Pat's turned around the other way. Remember that one? Here we have Betty and Jim and Grandma and Grandpa Scott. Isn't Grandma's hat cute? Grandma Scott was probably not an inch over 4'2" or 3". She wasn't. Now here the hat makes her look taller, but this was at Betty's wedding, so this would be Mom's whole family. Aunt Gladys, Uncle Charlie, Grandma Scott, Uncle Arthur, Grandpa, Uncle Frank, and my mom. The mother of the bride, and she is just totally delighted. She's going out with her beautiful new outfit. And now we have firstborn, little Brian, first grandchild. Here's Grandma with her first grandchild, and that's me beside her. It's freezing cold, but anyway, I'm out there without a coat. And here we have Mother. This picture was taken over in Pearson's grass. It might be the same day. It might be Betty's wedding day. She certainly has the same dress on. Betty and Pat and Mom. At Betty's, that's it. That's the Bickle residence in Holbrook. And Jim and Betty and Mom and Pat. Pat began to wear glasses when she was very, very young. This looks like a Mother's Day because I see Mom has a flower pinned on her lapel. This is just shortly after Betty and Jim got married. Mom had been ill for quite some time, and her brother Charlie said that he thought they should go to Florida, and this would be after that. There's Mom and Aunt Evelyn in Florida. You can see that Mom is not well. She is just not well. But she has on Betty's beautiful dress all the same. This would be, Dad went with them actually. This would be a couple of winters before she died. Mom and Dad in Florida, the same trip. Dad with a cigarette in his hand. He was quite a smoker at one time. Mom and her oldest brother, Charlie. They always had a good relationship, Mom and Charlie. She didn't have a very good time. And our mother passed away. Mrs. Dalton French, Norwich, March the 1st, the day that my mother passed away. Mrs. Dalton French, actually she was 46, of Burgessville, died in Toronto General Hospital early today. She had been ill for some time. Born in Tillsonburg, she was the former Marion Nellie Scott, daughter of the late Fred Scott and Mrs. Scott of Tillsonburg. She was educated at Tillsonburg and for several years taught school at Eden and Miller's Corners. She was married 21 years ago and moved to Burgessville 16 years ago. Mrs. French was a member of Burgessville United Church and the Women's Institute. Surviving are her daughters, Mrs. James Bickle of Holbrook, Muriel and Patsy at home, a sister, Mrs. Lloyd Johnson in Mount Elgin, three brothers, Charles Scott, Mount Elgin, Arthur and Frank of Tillsonburg, and her mother. The body is at the Arn Funeral Home, Norwich, where service will be held Tuesday the 2nd p.m. by the Reverend Norman H. Mackenzie, and interment will be in Burgessville Cemetery. She is sorely missed. The loves of her life, her three beautiful daughters. I know she'd be so proud of them. Betty and Pat and Muriel. This was at Dwight Bickle's wedding. She's proud of them, I'm sure.